Hello, hello. I am Coach Tina, and we are going to have an amazing time here this evening doing our Celebrate Joy All Day Long mindset class with the Young Living Oils. I'm very excited. I hope you are too. And as I've told the ladies that are on screen right now, we need to grab our oils for this class. So there's everything that was in the description of the class that we're going to be using today. I'll name them off quickly. You can always stop the recording and go back and gather. But if you don't have all of these oils, don't despair. Just gather the oils you do have. And since this is a class about setting intention, we're just going to set intention with the oils we have. And it's going to be a beautiful experience, I promise you guys. So the first oil that you could gather that we're going to use is Present Time. The second one is going to be Dream Catcher. The third is Clarity. The fourth is Believe, Transformation, and then Valor, Joy, Abundance, Gratitude, and Celebration. And the last one is Into the Future. Now, I know that was a lot at once. And for those of you that want to have the list, it is online on my website. I put it at tinagearing.com/mindset. And when you get there, you'll see the list and it will kind of talk about this presentation as well. I'm going to be putting this video up on there when it's done. So you'll have this to repeat again if you want. So today's class, while it's called Celebrate Joy All Day Long, is about relationships. Relationships with our oils, with ourselves, and with others. So why would we be doing that? It's because how many of you know someone who's a positive person? Okay, Terry's got one positive person in their life. Yep, we all do, right? They are that high energy person, right? The person we want to be around. That person is actually operating at a higher frequency, kind of like a bee that buzzes around out by the flowers. There's something about them, or the birds in the sky. They are at a higher vibration because really everything is energy. And what we're going to do today is put some energy into our oils and how we use them, because we're going to set an intention. Now, an intention is just an aim or a plan. It's basically a focus, like a laser focuses energy and has miraculous results, right? That's what happens when we apply frequency to our oils. So the frequency of oils increases when we use oils. It increases our frequency because the oils operate at a high frequency. And with that, we can set a healing intention. Now, I wanted to show you guys a quick PowerPoint. Just a moment. Let me click the right buttons here. All right. Okay, would help if my PowerPoint wanted to move. There it is. I have a list here of the frequencies of the Young Living essential oils. Now, keep in mind that a healthy body typically has a frequency range of 62 to 78 megahertz. Now, our oils range from 42 up to, now this one, the highest one on here is Idaho Blue Spruce at 428 megahertz, but the Northern Lights Blue Spruce is now over 500, and that's the highest frequency in an oil that has been recorded at this point. Now, this screen has a lot of our oils, not all of our oils, and it tends to be that our blends, now there's one exception, but most of these tend to be blends. So a lot of oils put together increases the frequency as well. This is just a guide. There's actually a system that puts this all together, and it's quite interesting to read about. The ones that I've highlighted in yellow are ones that we're using today. It's not all of the oils that we're using. Some of them aren't on the list, but I imagine they have high frequencies as well. And if you're worried about some of the ones with lower frequencies, it's just that you add in with them, you layer, if you will, and they take care of all the frequencies are for different reasons. But we're going to be focusing on the high energy, the high frequency oils that are going to raise us up to a different level and will help with transformation. The more that we are in our higher level self, the more options we have available to us. Oops, and I did it again with, I'm going to move it one more PowerPoint. The other thing to think about with frequencies is that emotions tend to have to be on a frequency scale. Now, we don't have the exact megahertz of our frequencies for emotion, but if you look at this list from bottom to top, what you'll notice is it goes from the very low end emotions, and as you go up the ladder, you start to hit the higher and higher frequencies. And what we want to aim for is probably the top 5, right? We want to be optimistic and positive and have good beliefs, enthusiasm, eagerness, happiness, passion. And then that cream of the crop up at the top, joy and appreciation, empowerment, freedom, and love. You'll notice that a lot of our oils are named types of names, right? Okay, I'm going to take us back to getting started with the oils. And how you think about things, especially your emotions, is actually your mindset. And we want to think about that. Mindset is like your attitude about things. So if you're not sure about frequencies, this sounds a little bit different to you, I just ask that you take on this experience without judgment, that we start at a place that allows us to see what's going to happen next. And I always like to use kind of a scale from 0 to 10 to see where we are right now. So as you start to think about celebrating joy all day long, in your life right now, 10 being you are already celebrating joy all day long. You are in an amazing place. And 0 being not so much. Maybe you struggle in lots of areas. You're somewhere along that spectrum. So just on a piece of paper or something near you, go ahead and write down your number. And then after we do this experience, we're going to take a look and see if our vibration, if our number has increased at all. So are you guys ready to start? All right. Well, the first oil we're going to work on is called present time. So grab your present time oil. Now, to keep us in our timeline, I had to make a choice. The choice was to talk more about the intention of the oil and thinking about how we're going to do these than it was to bring in all of the things that you could look up in the desk reference or the other things you can find online. So I will talk a little bit about them. I will bring in some of the oils history, if you will, or as I talk, but just to get an idea of what we're doing here, it's mostly going to be based on the intent, okay? The other thing that I'm doing to kind of help you as you go through your day is I'm giving us a top to bottom plan. So basically we're going to start at the top and we're going to go down through our body and we're going to associate each oil with a body part, okay? So present time is actually, I'm going to call it our be still oil. So we're going to go ahead and you can breathe in the oil if that's all you want. This could be a great one to diffuse while you're doing this practice. It's one that you can put on you as well, but I'm using it as a way to basically get into state. And what came to mind was the intention of being still. Our field, our space, we're just getting started and we're opening up to the possibilities of being able to celebrate joy all day long. Imagine this is your first waking moment of the day. You have that first conscious breath and you get into the here and the now. it's going to be a great day. It makes you think about all the possibilities of the day. I like to look out into the sky and see the sun starting to rise. These are all good thoughts you can have to bring you into the present time. Now we're going to go through these. I wouldn't say quickly, but we're going to go through them. And my thought would be that later you could stay on one of these, especially if one of them is coming to you and you're like, oh, this is what I really want. And just stay there for a while, put the pause on and do that. For those of you that don't have present time, that's a goal you can set. You might want to incorporate a different oil that either has a similar name or that just, what is very interesting to me is our citrus oils are very uplifting. They're known to help with depression and anxiety and worry. So you can put in orange, grapefruit, lemon. That could be your present time. That could wake up your spirit to start this practice. So even if you don't have the oil we're talking about, you still have access. Which one, Sarah?
This is one of my favorites. It's Harmony.
Yes, Harmony would be a perfect one.
I don't have present time, but this is one of my favorites.
Yep, that's exactly how you want to do it. It's funny because as I was looking for my oils for this class, I started gathering all the ones that you could use, and I ended up with a whole basket full. I mean, I put several baskets full, but
like Envision, Rise Above, Fill Your
Exactly. So many good ones. Very good. All right, we're going to move on to Dreamcatcher. All right, Dreamcatcher is also one of my favorites. I did a full month study of Dreamcatcher where I just used it every day. I set the intention that I was catching my dreams. And what happens with these oils, you guys, is it wakes up your amygdala. You know, the only way we can get to our amygdala is through our senses, through our nostrils. And it's right in the center of our brain. And so when we introduce new experiences to that place that doesn't get a lot of action, especially when we use the essential oils, it activates something in us. When I was using this oil for a month, I was setting an intention of catching those dreams and doing something with them. And so I am going to apply this oil. So I'm going to turn the bottle, get a drop on the palm of my hand. And I'm going to bring in the oil through my hands. I'm diffusing it. Now, the body part that we're going to think about with Dreamcatcher is the crown, the top of our head. So after you have your moment with your oils, you're going to bring it in. And it may not seem like that oil is going to get into your crown, but it's amazing. It does. So don't worry about that. And I want you to think about the top of your head being like a vessel, okay? An open cup. And I say this because recently I was in a training and I just was so excited about the concept that this gentleman gave me. But he said, you know, when you're gathering up knowledge, we've all done this, we've been to conferences, we've been to different classes, and sometimes it feels like you're in a waterfall. There's just so much information being presented. And he said, you have to be intentional to catch that. You can't just catch it in your hands. You have to present a container to hold it in. And that made so much sense to me. In our Dreamcatcher, what I want us to do is to open up our minds, open up our heads, our cup, and just allow the thoughts to start coming in. So we've had our first breath of the day, and now the thoughts upon waking up. This is the first fruits of our day. We want to give back for being able to get up and be alive for another day. We want to spend a moment thinking about our purpose and about how we can make the most of today. We want to spend a moment or more on the dream that's in our heart. Today can be absolutely anything. Just dream on the possibilities about what today holds for you. All right. When we open ourselves up to opportunities, we're more aware of them. We bring them into our field. So what we're going to start with next is clarity. We've already opened up our mind. Now we're going to focus. We're going to get centered on information. And so clarity, another drop I'm putting in my palm. This one is going to go on our forehead. I like to just very softly bring it across my forehead. And you might want to take this moment and give yourself just a little light facial massage, just real gentle and loving. We're going to be opening up our mind to the day, the solutions that we're going to find, the problems that we're going to solve, how our priorities and focus is going to be on what's important and what's going to truly be best for us in this day. And you just kind of allow yourself the time to bring that clarity into your body, into your mind. We do have some other oils that focus on clarity. We have brain power, I think it's called. Anytime I'm lacking in an oil, a frankincense is a great replacement. So I'm thinking of what's in our kit that is very easy to grab at. I believe, is aroma still in the kit, Terry? Okay. Stress away is, and that could be a good one for this one too. Part of it is being creative, you guys, with the oil selection that you have, and then realizing that you can always add to it later. When I first started with my oils, and I would read through the book of all the uses for the oils, and I would get confused because I was like, what is this one for? What is that one for? And sometimes I just needed to grab an oil and go. And I started going on my intuition. I started just grabbing the one that felt right to me and using it that day. And what I found is we set the intention for our oils, and then it's like they want to play with us. They're like, yeah, this is what we want to do. In fact, I will tell you now that your mind is open and you're focused, one of the most beautiful stories I have heard is a study. I almost brought the book in here, so I apologize, and I'll remember to bring it on Thursday night when we're in person. But there is a scientist who has talked about water. So he's done studies of water. He freezes water. Yes, and his name is at a loss for me right now, but I might remember it before we're done. But he freezes water, and he takes pictures of it. And so you see the crystallization of the snowflake, let's say. And then what they did is they did studies where they would associate the water with love. And the snowflake would change, and it would be a beautiful crystalline structure with a lot of pattern to it. And then they would yell angry things at the water, and they would freeze it, and they would take a look. And it would be all disconnected and not looking beautiful like it did with the joy and the love. And so it's the little things that we don't realize that are happening in our lives that cause that chaos to throw us off. We need to be saying wonderful things to our body, because our bodies are, 70% water? I think it's more, but we are also very responsive to water. And I did a study with my kids once. I had so much fun when I learned this. I would take a vase of water and I would write on the bottom of it, joy or love or caring, and I would play with the words, and I would hide it from my kids, and then I would give them drinks from it, and I would ask them to guess what the water tasted like. And I told them I had written a word, and they were almost always, not spot on, they didn't guess the word, but they caught the feeling behind what I was putting into the water. And so studies have also been done on our oils, and what's really interesting is when you pray on or set an intention for an oil, it naturally raises the frequency before it ever gets used. So we have that power. You've heard that prayer has benefits. We set the intention. We tell the energy around us how we want it to behave, and we can take advantage of that. So the next oil we're going to go to is Believe. This is one of my favorite oils. I use this as a perfume. It's a great way to, before I run out the door, to put some Believe on. But we are going to associate this with our nose and just, I like to think of this as associating it with our senses, right? I just talked about intuition. We want our belief to be strong. We want to believe in ourselves. We want to believe that we have the power to do what we set out to do. And so we need this to be driven deep into our being to create a certainty about what's possible. Now, the interesting thing about, we're going to talk about affirmations next when we talk about our throat area. And an affirmation is a statement that we make that helps us to step into that truth. So what we want to do is we want to set affirmations that we agree with and that are in line with what it is we want to be or do in our future. And usually you start an affirmation with an I am statement, and then you say who you want to be. Like we set a goal and then we say, in the future, I am. You don't say that in the future, you're just, I am that person that I want to be. So as we go through this transformation, as we go through our affirmation, we want to believe that that affirmation is true. So we're going to put transformation on our throat. Now, as women, we know that this area here is where our thyroid is. And there's a lot of beautiful things that the thyroid does for our body. And so we want to honor our thyroid. It's the shape of a beautiful butterfly. And we want to imagine, we want to help our hormones and our system work together. We want to imagine that beautiful butterfly working on our body. And what do butterflies, well, what do caterpillars do? They transform into beautiful butterflies. So our throat is where we can speak about what we will change today, where we affirm our truth, where we communicate our power out into the world. And sometimes it starts with us saying those truthful words to ourselves. So we are strong enough to amplify out into the world, right? So whenever you get the opportunity, be saying wonderful, positive things to yourself. Allow yourself, we've already done the belief, allow yourself to believe that you can be who you want to be. Now, transformation is about change. And change is not always easy for everybody because we have our comfort areas. We have our way that we want our life to be, or that it's always been. And so we're afraid to step out of our comfort zone. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Valor. Valor is such a wonderful oil. And we are going to use Valor to give us courage and strength, to help us with our bravery. And the body part we're going to associate it with is our breastbone or our sternum. So it's interesting. It's right about in here. You're going to see it's kind of the biggest bone, and then it goes down, and it holds basically your clavicles that come across here. So you're going to feel it. There's going to be it's bone. And it's interesting. I was looking it up today. It's actually a triangular shaped bone, and the triangle is the sign for change in mathematics. It's the delta. So how beautiful that we have a body part that actually represents change as well. So that's a place that we can add our courage, our blessed plate. In scripture, it says we put on the armor of God, and we already have that breastplate. We already have that protection for our heart, because change and courage takes a lot of vulnerability. And, we all know that courage is not the absence of fear. Fear is going to be there when you do something that you aren't comfortable with yet. But it's being what needs to be done regardless of what's in front of you, regardless of how scary your fear is. All right. How's that feel, everybody? Okay. The next one we're going to go to is joy. Joy has always been one of my favorite oils. It comes in the kit, which made it, even better because you got it right away. So joy, my favorite place to put joy is on my heart. So of course I saved that for this one. And I want us to think about being centered in our celebration, right? We're going to have this joy all day long, but it's going to be right in the center of us, right in our heart. And we want to be ready to face the day with our joy. We want to be open and available and vulnerable. And it's interesting because joy doesn't come from anybody else, any outside place, anything that you can buy. Joy comes from within. And I have been doing some wonderful meditations lately where I have just been letting joy bubble from within, like a bubbling brook. And I just imagine that the way that water looks when it starts to come up from the earth, and the joy is bubbling out of me. And there's so much that I don't have to contain it. It can go out into the world. It just flows out of me naturally and with ease. You can be your own source of joy. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the world or what you saw on TV or any of the news or stress about money. You can be joyful. I see this in you a lot, Sarah. You're always that happy person. Appreciate that. Okay, now we're going to move to abundance. We have opened up, we have faced our fears, we're open to new things, and now we're going to look at abundance. Abundance is a fun and spicy oil. It's one that I love as well. I love them all. I think that's really the truth here. Now, the body part we're going to associate abundance with is our diaphragm. Okay, and so the diaphragm is actually the main muscle that is involved in our respiration. Okay, and I want you to think it's usually underneath our breasts. There's actually a muscle that kind of comes up in a U from the side. It's basically holding in our digestive organs, and it separates our lungs, our respiratory system, and our stomach. Okay. The purpose of the diaphragm is expansion. How cool is that? That it just fits in line with all of these oils. Interestingly enough, a lot of stress and trauma can get caught in our diaphragm. We don't think about it, but if you were ever scared as a child, this is an example, when you got scared, you held your breath. And you maybe held it for a while, like maybe you were hunkering down, hiding someplace. All of that stress gets stuck in that muscle. And we need to open up and let that relax and relieve the stress. That's what's going to open up that abundance. And a lot of it's caused from fear, right? So we have to clear all of that stuff, release all of that so that we can have that expansion and we don't have to hold anything back anymore. So one of the things you could do with this oil is really massage it in that area. Allow it to work through that muscle. And this is a perfect place for some really good deep breaths. And you can just imagine breathing in and allow that breath to go all the way to the top of your head. And then bring it back down. Let it go down your body as you release all the way out through the tips of your toes. And what you can do when you're doing those big breaths is breathe in love, unconditional love, all the things that you say that have been negative about yourself. Those go away. You breathe out all of those limiting beliefs. You breathe in love and out anything that doesn't serve you any longer. Okay, we are going to go next to gratitude. Grabbing my gratitude oil. This is going to go on our belly. And I want us to think about creation. Many of us either came from a belly or most of us, all of us came from a belly last time I checked. So it's a reminder of who we are and where we have come from and how far we have come. The belly is our source of life, right? When we think about our gratitude, this is a great place for us to have self-love and compassion. And it's almost systematic, right? Like it has a process, and we have to go through some processes sometimes. Some of them are good and some of them aren't, but we still push through it and allow it to be released. All right, the next one is fun, you guys. We have our celebration oil. You may or may not be able to get to your hips or your knees, but I recommend that you use this oil as a celebration of movement, of action, right? Like once we've set our goals for the day and we've put our plan in place and we've gotten into the right belief system, we're ready to take action. And with that, we're basically doing a cause and effect. Think about when you learned to walk, right? There was lots of times that you fell, but I highly think that nobody told you you couldn't do it, even though you failed over and over again. No one said, nope, we're not going to let you try that anymore. You did it until you found that moment that you could walk. So we celebrate what we're capable of, all of our successful moments in life, even though it feels so small sometimes. Celebrate all wins. And this is a great one for dancing, right? You get that motion in your hips. It's a joyful moment as well. So we can celebrate our movement in fun ways. This would be, if you've done all the rest, you might want to take some time and put some music on at this point and really just allow yourself to bring in how your body feels with all of this information and love that you've been giving it, all the attention that you've been putting on how you're going to celebrate joy all day long.
I'm not familiar with that oil at all. What would you suggest to use instead of it, like Rise Above or White Angelica or One Heart?
One Heart might be good. You know, I was thinking of Bloom. Do you have Bloom yet?
Oh yes, I love Bloom.
Yeah, Bloom would be a great one.
Okay.
Okay. There's also Hope. Hope would be a good one. Magnify Your Purpose, maybe.
Okay.
And then the last oil of our practice is Into the Future. And this one, we are going to put on the soles of our feet. And we are going to trudge off into our day in service to others, with humility, with giving back. We have so much to take into our day. Now we're able to go forth and share what we've had, what we've celebrated, what we've been joyful about with others. And it all starts by taking that first step, stepping into our day so that we can celebrate joy all day long. And that, my friends, is just a fun little piece that I put together. Would you read the statement, Terry, on what we said for the class? I can maybe find it quickly. But okay, I'm going to find it really quickly. So Terry, when we talked about what we were going to do, was amazing and took my ideas and wrote it up on our little flyer. And there it is. So she said that this class would help us find the clarity to catch our dreams so that we would have the courage to believe that we can make the transformation from our present time into the future, into a future filled with joy, abundance, celebration, and gratitude using our Young Living oils. It's a beautifully put together
Yes.
statement. Love that, Terry. Thank you. Thank you.
So I have another question. I'm sorry.
No, this is perfect.
I don't have into the future either, but you
Okay.
said that we would go start our day
Mhm.
with humility.
Yeah.
Would humility
Humility would be a great one. And let's see. I have one of the old Ula oils, which was Balance. That would be a good one too. I have Journey On. Do you have Journey On?
Oh,
I love this oil, by the way. Another one
does
that you might,
that have a picture of him on a horse?
yes, Gary's on a horse.
To me, that sounds very familiar. I think I have that somewhere.
Okay, that's one you could use. The other one that I like, and it's crazy because you wouldn't think it, is Dorado Azul. It means blue skies. And so that one always makes me feel like I got to go run down the road, right? Okay, this is our time check for our number. How are you feeling after this experience? Did your number go up?
My number went up.
I can
Yes.
see it in you, Terry. It's really fun. You're lit up. It's very apparent. And Sarah, I think there's a bump there too.
Yes.
Mom, how about you? I know you didn't get all the full benefit of the oil. She has her little container of them, but now you'll have this video to watch, Mom. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the oils and kind of when Terry and I put this together, some of the things we found. So the first thing that I think is interesting is we used 11 oils. And now those bottles on average were $55 a piece. So they're expensive. In total, it would have been about $600 in oils. So, but if you took all the ingredients of all of those oils, it would be over 40 different oil bottles that you would have to spend on and to make your own. And we don't know the recipe, right? But I mean, to get the benefits of all of those different oils. And there's quite a list of them. I'll probably add it to the website as well, just a list so you could see, because there's quite a few and they could all be good on their own. And they're ones like you don't think about, like Palmarosa and Palo Santo, and Rose is the oil that has the very highest frequency, by the way. Well, except for Northern Lights now. But Rose is like 230. So for a long time, it was the rose oil that had the highest frequency. But rose oil is over $100 a bottle. Isn't it 200? It's $200 for the rose oil. But something I realized when I was going through this is Northern Lights Black Spruce. So it is the oil that has over 500 of frequency. It's only about $30 a bottle. So if you're looking for a frequency bump, that's one that you might want to add to your perfume every day, because when you have that higher frequency in you, it naturally helps you raise that frequency. Now you have to work with it. You have to believe in yourself and set those intentions and go off to do your own thing. But it helps to have a little boost, right? It's like having a cup of coffee in the morning. And so I put together an order because I wanted to see, if we put them together, it's about 600 in oils. What was interesting is I almost was able to split it into two $300 oils, because 300 is the max for points this month. And then I did some oil math, you guys. So, it's a little slippery slope to be on here. But if you bought them all in those two orders and you figured out a way to get rewards, like you might have somebody that you could place another order for, you'd be ordering about $607. But the free gifts, it's actually $107 for each free gift package that you get. So it would be down to like $400 essentially. And then, so this is oil math, you guys. You got to think like an oiler when you're doing this. But then you have your loyalty points on those. And so anywhere from 15 to 25%. I'm in that 25% because I've been buying forever. And so that's a $75 savings. So how can you not buy these oils, right? But what I would say is,
$75 for each of those 2 orders.
I know it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep. And something to keep in mind is that whether you can do that in the 2 orders or however you would want to pattern yours out, you might have some, you might have others. It's kind of a fun thing to kind of think about for the year. These are 11 oils. And by the end of the year, you could have all of them and could do this practice regularly. And that would be a way that you could add in as you go. And you could also be using your reward points to buy that one that is $100 that maybe you don't splurge on that much for yourself, but yet you could. So just little ways that you could bring an intention for, I'm going to do this practice. I'm going to pick the oils that matter to me and see what happens. And I think that's all that I have other than questions from you guys. If there's anything you'd like to have clarity on or thoughts.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
As we go through, like, how often do you recommend that we go through this whole all 11 oils?
That's a really good question. So it's going to be up to you what your priority is, right? And how well it affects you. So someone that isn't used to a routine or doesn't have, like this would be a big deal. You're going to have to do it maybe once a month and just kind of settle on that. For somebody that's been doing the oils for a while, has a big collection, has a routine every morning already, then I would say it's something that you would strive to do every day. Even if it's, because what's going to happen is you're going to be changing the neural pathways in your mind as you're thinking this way. So you could start to get your brain to be thinking this way even without the oils eventually. So like the oils are a training aid and they're assisting you and helping you, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it for the rest of your life. You're doing it to see a change in yourself. And when you change, you might be somebody that does something bigger than this or something less than this, like you won't need it as much. So it's a very personalized answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
But do what feels right to you. Do what feels good to your heart.
What if you feel like a pull toward a couple of the oils in particular?
Yeah, I would either supplement that or do it. Like maybe you do, like, let me give you an example. If you've ever done the aroma freedom technique, which is an amazing practice, they have a protocol that they run you through with 3 oils, and it takes about 20 minutes. And then they tell you to do it every day for at least 1 or 2 weeks. You just use like the Believe oil every day to amplify it. Okay. You don't have to redo the AFT session. So it could be that you do something like that. And again, this is an experiment. So you have to find out what works for you. But it might be that you do the whole practice and then you pick the 1 or 2 oils that really speak to you. And maybe you use them in those areas where you have the hardest time. Like if the belief is a thing, if you have self-doubt, or if it's an area where your confidence is low, then that might be the one that you carry with you or put in your diffuser bracelet and have as something that, okay, I'm going to tell myself something different. I'm going to change this.
Okay, that makes sense.
Definitely a training aid. Think of it like a.
Yeah, for sure.
Sarah, did you have any questions?
No, I asked mine as we went along.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, you guys, I had a lot of fun. I didn't get a time check on this though, Terry. Did you see how long?
We started at about 6:50 and it's like 7:35 now.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop us. So thank you everybody for watching, and let us know if you have questions.